The room that breathes. Why ceiling height changes everything. Walk into a room with 10-foot ceilings, and something happens before you've noticed a single piece of furniture. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing slows. The room hasn't done anything to you yet. So, you haven't sat down. You haven't touched anything. But your body has already registered something your conscious mind is still catching up to. The space has exhaled, and so have you. This isn't a feeling that money buys directly. I've stood in rooms that cost more than most people's homes, and they were suffocating. 8-foot ceilings, recessed lighting flush to the surface, no cornice, no shadow, no sense that the room had a top, just a lid. And I've stood in very modest rooms, older homes, built when labor was cheap and lumber was straight-grained, where the ceilings ran to 11 feet and the room felt like a gift. The difference had nothing to do with the furniture. Everything to do with the vertical dimension that most renovation budgets don't even consider. Ceiling height is the variable that changes every other variable in a room. Change the height, and you change what the furniture can be, what the windows can do, how the light moves, how sound travels, how the air itself seems to settle. Most people design rooms horizontally. They think about the floor plan, the arrangement of seating, the flow between spaces. The vertical is an afterthought. In the homes I respect most, it's the first thought. There's a reason the rooms in old Georgian townhouses feel the way they do. And the piano nobile, the main reception floor, was always the tallest, not for show. Because the people who built those houses understood that height is what allows a room to hold people without crushing them. A room at a dinner party with 12 guests and 8-foot ceilings is a different experience than the same room with 12-foot ceilings. The sound disperses differently. The heat rises and stays above you rather than wrapping around you. The air moves. You could almost say the room is generous, because it is. When I look at a room that feels wrong, and I mean specifically that low-grade unease you get in certain modern open-plan spaces, I almost always find that the ceiling is too low for the footprint. The room is wide, maybe 30 feet across, but the ceiling sits at 9 feet, and that ratio is off. No, a room that wide needs more height to feel proportioned. Without it, the space presses down on you, like a lid on something too large to be contained. Add 1.5 feet to that ceiling and the room would transform. The furniture would suddenly look right. The windows would read as tall rather than squat. The whole room would find its axis. What vertical space actually does, beyond proportion, is create shadow. And shadow is what makes a room feel inhabited rather than exposed. A high ceiling means a dado rail can sit at the right height, around 36 inches, and divide the wall into proper thirds. It means a cornice can carry some depth, 3 or 4 inches of plaster profile, and cast a shadow that moves across the day as the light shifts. In a room with 8-foot ceilings, a cornice of that depth would look absurd, or overscaled, like a belt on a jacket. In a room with 10 or 11 feet, the same cornice looks exactly right. The shadow it throws at 4 in the afternoon, when the sun is coming in low from the west, is one of the small pleasures that good rooms provide without announcing it. I think often about paneling in this context. A room with properly scaled wall paneling, full-height panels that run from skirting to cornice, needs height to work. The panels want to be tall and narrow, or tall and moderate in width. When you compress them into a low-ceilinged room, they look like wainscoting that didn't know when to stop. But give them height, 12 feet of wall to work with, and those panels become architecture. The room has bones, it has a structure you can feel. The walls aren't surfaces anymore. They're the sides of something built to last. Bookcases operate on the same logic. A floor-to-ceiling bookcase in a room with 10-foot ceilings is a library. The same bookcase in a room with 8-foot ceilings is storage. The books don't change. The reading chair doesn't change. But the vertical dimension changes what the whole composition means. Height gives a bookcase its weight, its sense of accumulated knowledge pressing gently against the room's boundaries. Without that height, it's furniture. With it, it's a feature that defines the entire space. There's also the question of what happens to light when a room has proper ceiling height. Tall windows become possible, not just wider, but genuinely tall. A day with the glass running from close to the floor up toward a cornice or an architrave just below the ceiling line. When light enters a room through windows that run 8 or 9 feet high, it doesn't just illuminate the room, it rakes across the plaster walls at an angle. It finds surfaces. A wall of aged Venetian plaster with morning light entering through tall sash windows is one of the most compelling things a room can offer. The light almost moves. The texture shifts through the day. The wall feels alive. That only happens when the window is tall enough to let the light travel. What I'd say to anyone facing a renovation decision about ceilings, the cost of raising them, where it's structurally possible, almost always returns more than its price in what the room becomes afterward. Every other element in the room, the furniture, the rugs, the lighting, the paneling, will perform better in a room with proper height. The Eames lounge that looks right in a 10-foot room looks different at 8. The chandelier that earns its place at 12 feet disappears at 9. Height isn't a luxury added on top of a well-designed room. It's the condition that makes a well-designed room possible. The homes that stay with me longest are almost always tall. Not ostentatious, not the double-height entrance halls that announce themselves before you've taken your coat off, but rooms with enough vertical space that the air has somewhere to go. Rooms where the light has room to angle and shift and find the far wall in the late afternoon. Rooms where the furniture sits inside the space rather than filling it. And where the ceiling recedes just enough that you stop thinking about it entirely. That's what a room that breathes feels like. You stop being aware of the top of it, and somehow, that's when a room starts to feel like it could hold anything.